What's going on, y'all? Good morning. We're back, and of course, I wanted to get on real quick because I had something on X catch my eye, and it comes from Wrestle Features, where they post a quote from Shelton Benjamin speaking on Bayley, and pretty much everything pertaining to her, the storyline with Io Sky, and of course, the whole thing that is Cody versus the Bloodline. And he didn't really go into real depth detail, at least not as far as this quote is concerned. But I wanted to talk about this simply because of the fact that it's just really, really interesting to me that, everything that he said in this quote was absolutely spot on to a point that it's like, man, this is profound. And I'll go into that quote in a minute, but I say that largely because, with everything that happened stemming from the whole Cody versus Bloodline story, it's certainly been controversial amongst so many other things, to say the least, but even more so for reasons that we're not talking about as much. We're still talking about it because it's here and I'm about to go over it, but it's just crazy, and I'm going to go into why here as I go over this quote. So, again, this is Shelton Benjamin on the Black Rat Wrestling podcast, and he says this. This is to all social media. You need to be talking about Bayley a whole lot more. Don't get me wrong, everyone's hot on The Rock and Cody finished the story. But at the same time, I say, like CM Punk said, Bayley won the Rumble. And all anyone is talking about is Cody's story. Give Bayley her flowers. I think she's one of the most underrated girls on the roster. I feel like she's underrated and underappreciated by the company, but not by the talent. We recognize what she is. Bayley should be world champion come April. That's my personal opinion. That's literally, I need to find a way to, when I get all my Stream Deck and everything and just really get more into editing, I need to, amplify that so it's, multiple and it's more like a round of applause, or I just get an actual round of applause. Anyway, it's a whole other thing, stuff to possibly look forward to, but that's as far as we're going with that. The point I'm wanting to make here is, again, Shelton couldn't be more spot on about this. In fact, I wouldn't be shocked, and he even said so himself. I'm inclined to believe this is probably the mentality of all the talent, and probably not even just backstage with WWE. You could probably go to other companies, AEW, TNA, MLW, GCW, or wherever. It's not going to matter. They're probably going to be of this very same mindset as I am too. And for me, it's real funny because I was watching something recently where they were talking about, it would be good to have Women Main Event Night 1 and everything, which it would be. I don't think that's happening enough. Now, when you think about things like last year with the Sammy storyline and everything going into that with him and KO going against the Usos, okay, fine. But Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair we're building this storyline for the better part of the previous couple of years. This goes back to the pandemic WrestleMania where Charlotte took the NXT title off of Rhea Ripley. And, I thought that was great for the fact that was going to be something they could build off of for a long time. And even more so for the fact that they actually implemented NXT in the main roster storyline as Charlotte won the Rumble that year. Speaking of having won the Rumble, Shelton and Punk are also right. Bayley did win the Rumble this year. So it would be fair to have her and Io be the main event. If not, hell, I'm fine with it being Rhea and Becky. But at the end of the day, that's still doing Bayley a disservice because everything that Shelton said is correct, you know? And it's even funnier for the fact that you've got less than 3 weeks from now where we're going to have the debut of one Mercedes Moné in AEW. Big business specific. And it's funny because, speaking of what I've seen on X, there's also a post that I actually had my hands on, well, I put my fingerprints on it, so to speak. But it was something that Bayley had posted where it was a picture of her and Sasha when they first won the women's tag titles. Really when the tag titles were first introduced, period. And I'm paraphrasing this, of course, because I don't remember the exact quote, but Bayley basically said, you know, looking back on this is something significant that we were once fighting for, so on and so forth. Like, again, I don't remember everything verbatim, but that it's basically along those lines. And Mercedes, of course, came through with her own read post simply saying, just wait till you see what I'm fighting for next. So I say all of that simply for the fact that, just given the context behind that very detail right there, I think that, if nothing else, further emphasizes Shelton Benjamin's point here, and even to perhaps a lesser degree CM Punk, although it was more generated towards the whole Rock and Cody situation. But the reality of it is this: at some point sooner or later, they're going to have no choice but to keep from dancing around all of this like it's not even a thought, because that's something that I think really doesn't get talked about enough, is the fact that whether it's Vince or Triple H, unfortunately WWE is known for dancing around shit egregiously, I might add, and in ways that, if we're being perfectly honest, isn't just a disservice to their talent, but it's a disservice to them, even with them being under the TKO Endeavor umbrella. I mean, I just feel as if, you know, we're at a point where, for all the things that have happened, hell, not even going into the whole scandal behind the shit that happened with Vince, and where all those other female wrestlers and anyone else may have been involved, if nothing else, for that reason alone, I feel like at some point, I mean, it may not translate this year, but somewhere here soon down the line, within the next 1, 2, 3 years, Triple H, Ari Emanuel, Nick Khan, I don't give a fuck who it is, someone there is really going to have to get their shit together about this. That's just the bottom line to it all. Now, whether or not this happens still remains to be seen, but I'm putting it out there because, I mean, I can't say it enough. Shelton is 1 million, he's infinite percent right on this, actually. And that's really the only way I know to put it. But, you know, I just had to put that out there because I have an awful lot of respect for Bayley, and just given her personal story, just going back to NXT, she was the only one of the 4 horsewomen, between Mercedes, then Sasha, Charlotte, and Becky, that were actually left behind in NXT, and she held that shit down like a motherfucker. More so than anybody else did at that point. Maybe even more so than Finn Balor to some degree. I mean, I guess it just depends on who you ask. I mean, and that's with guys like Shinsuke Nakamura, Samoa Joe. Sami Zayn was still doing the damn thing there. Baron Corbin, amongst so many others. And of course, that's with the emergence of Asuka. I mean, Emma and Dana Brooke, now to Neil Dashwood and Ash by, is it Elegance or Essence? I forget. And That's someone I'm really rooting for there, by the way, is Dana Brooke, regardless of whether I'm getting her new persona correct or not. But the point I'm wanting to make here is that, yeah, this shit just cannot fly anymore. And I know I normally end this with like, share, subscribe, let me know what y'all think, but no way are y'all not sharing the same opinion on this one. And that's where I'm going to leave it on that. I'm out.